Hi, and welcome to Monkey and Frank podcast. My name's Doe, and we're going to be continuing the story of when I went to Peru. If you haven't heard the first part, I would recommend for you to go back and hear it. But for all of you that are here now, ready to go, I was at the end of my Sapo experience where I woke up from it. So, to recap, I'm a mess, full of anxiety, weak, a follower, just, but, I had charisma. I did have charisma. So now I do my Sapo experience, everything is crazy. I just wake up, I think to myself, what the fuck did I just do? Even though it was the most insane experience, what the fuck did I just do? Wow. It was quiet. It was so fucking quiet. And the music was off. Everybody was looking at me. The guy said, "Way to go, Dom." And then I'm like, man, I don't want to be that guy. And I felt shame for the first time in my life. For the first time, it was so great. It was so immense, and I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle what was happening. So I kind of did like a mouse, and I just backed off, and I said, like, "Stop, guys! Like, don't look at me. Like, next, like, go to the next person. Like, I don't." And I went and kind of sat on the side. I couldn't handle it. The shame was consuming me. I didn't know what to do. I wanted to run away. I couldn't handle it. I couldn't stay here. Everybody was still looking at me. Like, what just happened? How long was I hitting the pillow? Like, what? So I run away. And in a sense, I couldn't even run fast because I was very high and there was tracer. So I get up and I go outside, and it was really bright. I find a chair, and there was two of my family members that were sitting there. And I put the chair down, and I try to sit down, and I close my eye, and I can't do it. The shame is everything. Like, I can't handle what's happening to me right now. My feelings are raw. My body's so raw. Like, it's the shame. I cannot get that shame out of every single cell of my body. So I get up, I close my eyes, and I go to my two friends, and I say, "I need your help." And they're like, "Yeah, sure, what's up?" I want to go back to the Maloka, but I don't know how to do it. And they're like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." And they get up, and one on each side, they grab my hand, and I stop them, and I say, and at that moment when I was touching them, like, something switched inside of me. Their energy just invigorated me to just say, "Is it okay if I say something?" They're like, "Yeah, sure." And I'm like, I'm frustrated. Like, I'm frustrated that, nobody came after me. I'm frustrated that I just behaved crazy in there. I am so frustrated. Like, I feel so much shame, and I start crying. Like, as soon as I open my mouth, basically, I don't tell the story justice. As soon as I open my mouth about, like, my emotions, what I was feeling, I start crying with my eyes closed, and I'm holding their hands, and I'm just telling them, like, how I'm sad that nobody came after me, how I don't remember much of the frustration because it was so, like, it was short. I just said everything that I needed to say about that moment since I woke up to now, to be back to fully empty, because in that ceremony I didn't realize at that point it had emptied me, like, fully. All of my traumas, all that I had ever experienced that was negative in my life, that was making me feel like holding me back, any type of frustration, was on that pillow that I had just beaten for whatever, how long. And now the first thing that comes out of my mouth after I go back to empty is like, "The sun feels good." And I take a deep breath. For the first time in my life, I take a breath. I've never taken a breath with a body that is trauma free. Like, I don't even know if, like, it was serious. when I that's my cat Kevin, by the way, so you guys are not distracted. Uh, the when I took my breath, what it felt like inside is as if every single cell of my body was chill about what was happening, was relaxed about it, and was actually leaning towards like this, like as if it wanted to find discomfort. You know, like when you're being held. And you really lean into that person and they really really hug you and you really lean in and you allow yourself to surrender in their embrace and their arm. Every single cell in my body felt like that. So when I took a deep breath, it felt like my lung wanted to keep expanding, and it felt like it was. So there was not enough air on earth for my lung. I remember saying that I took a deep breath. I'm like, oh my God. And I was like, seriously, like, oh my God. And it was insane. And I took a second one, and my lungs felt like they wanted to expand continuously. It was never ending. And I'm like, wow, this is. And then I start really getting excited about my state. Like I don't even remember like I remember what just happened, but I'm so in love with the here and now of having a body that is trauma free. And so anyways, they start walking me back and I'm like excited and I'm talking loud, and there's a facilitator that comes out of the small world and like, shh, like there's people doing like the ceremony. I'm like, oh fuck, yeah. And I felt bad in a way that I've never felt bad before. I felt bad with such joy of feeling bad, with such joy of like, oh my God, I feel bad. So I just started crying on the spot, but with like a big smile. Like I was so happy to let it out as like here and now. So I go and walk into the Maloka, and yeah, Nate was earlier in my previous story. I told you a little bit about people's ayahuasca sapo's journey. Well, now I walk in, and yeah, sorry, I don't know if I said a name, but anyways, my friend, he's lying down and he's crying, and he's going through something you can see so profound. And there's another friend that is laughing and enjoying herself on the other mat, but they were really contained, right? They were really, but I was happy and sad all at the same time, but like with such a joy of all of my cells were just so happy to be alive and trauma free, and like just oh my God. So I was crying openly for the first time in my life, like for the first time, crying openly without shame, fear, like just complete and honest, pure, crying. And it was insane. All that was like in one afternoon, or one in the afternoon. And we had a ayahuasca ceremony at night. It's like at 7:30 or something like that. And throughout the entire afternoon, I am enjoying every single moment. Even like sitting rounded, I was like, oh my God, no. Like my body knew all of knew the traumas are making us round, making us collapse, making us, feel heavy or whatever. So I was feeling light. I was even at the food, the conversation, how I was so fucking free. I've been full of anxiety all my life since I can't remember. Like since I was young, I had a stomach pain that just is always there, even now as I'm talking. Yeah, the story continues. You know a little bit of the end, but so now, beautiful afternoon. Enjoy myself. Oh my God. And ayahuasca comes at night, and I'm happy. I go in like I'm more than happy. I think like if that's it, if that's what I came here for, I'm good. Like I am good. And like And the way I was talking about it, yeah, that's an important part. The way I was talking about it with my family was, it was like a big angry warrior monster had gotten out of me. Like I had put him on the mat and he was gone. Like that's it. That part of me, I don't need him. Like he was gone. Like it was all my trauma. Nobody needs that. Like why even like I was so fucking ecstatic, so fucking happy. Like as if that one sapo ceremony can remove everything, like everything. And I was so like proud of myself because I had done the Wim Hof for so long, and I did the Wim Hof I really developed on myself. Like I remember doing the Wim Hof for like 2 years before buying the 10-week programs, and then when I bought the 10 weeks, I'm like, I just wanted confirmation, but it was all there. Even the advanced program, I was like, yeah, I figured that. Like it was insane. So I was super proud of myself because with the energy and the fuel of Sapo, I was able to fucking put it all on the mat, and that's it. So, and oh man, like it had, like even my mind was like just clean, like just purely clean, like thinking just of the here and now, the food, just like, and I didn't feel high, after that. Like after, let's say, an hour or so, the tracers kind of, even less, the tracers went away, and I was just me, but like me as if I was just born. Like I remember when I was really, really young, I was not as happy because I had my stomach pain and the fear and anxiety of my parents' disappointment and like, eh, you know. So, anyways, go and start the ceremony for ayahuasca, and I take, I don't know, like 1 cup or something like that. He's like, 1 cup. Yeah, I remember that. Like I didn't have a choice because I hadn't had any experience yet with the ayahuasca. I was just receiving a lot of pain and suffering, and the guy that owns it was saying like maybe more. But anyways, the shaman kind of, they're the one directing everything, and I'm so happy for that. So they give me 1 cup, and again, I just feel pain and I feel sick to my stomach. And there is a part of magic though in the third ceremony I want to talk about is I had been smoking mapacho. Mapacho is the jungle tobacco, and I had been smoking it as if I was a smoker because I had been a cigarette smoker pretty much all my life, like from 16 to 35, and I had quit before coming to Peru. And it's nice because I had quit with honesty, because I was the type of smoker that would like smoke behind my wife's back. And when I told her the truth and the honesty, it's like I was able to quit without any problem. Like I was upset at myself, she was upset at me, obviously. Like I was in deep shit, but I felt bad. Like I felt, and yeah, I never touched cigarette again. But mapacho in Peru, it's like it's a master plant, right? It's one that teaches the Peruvian shamans how to do their medicines, how to do the ceremonies, and so on and so forth. So it's a really respected plant. So I thought to myself, hey, I'm just getting blessings if I smoke it inside, outside, respect. And I was really believing in plant medicine at that time now, because just 3 days in, like from Sunday to now we were like Wednesday or Thursday. Yeah, Thursday. And I was a believer. Like I was not, religion had kicked my ass when I was young, when it came to Catholic, like, and so much religion had kicked my ass like into like, oh my god, there's a hell, like that's gonna be insane, and like your actions matter. And I was such a scared person growing up, and now I believed in spirituality, plant medicine, maybe even life after death, like other dimensions, like physics talks about that, and the quantum world, and like why the fuck not? Like we inside our biology is insane. Why doubt anything? The paradoxes are so real. But at this time I was not so much into it. I was just like, okay, I believe in something. Like holy shit, like I just put all my trauma on a pillow and now I'm free. Sweet. you know so I was feeling great, take the medicine, and I start feeling shitty, but like in my stomach, and then I feel it. It's kind of like she just took everything. Like I remember, like everything that I had put on the pillow, every fucking thing, she just took it and put it back into me and clearly said in my own inner monologue, which is the fucked up part, like I wish it was like at least God talking to me, or mother, like really clear, like no, my inner monologue, like. But anyways, at that time I was like, and I was like, no, poof. And she told me, you need this. And I understood like right away what she meant, and it resonated and it made sense, and I kind of saw the logic of it. But what I I was not happy. I was like, okay, but okay, there's no but. Like I'm still unhappy. To tell you the truth, I feel like, fuck. Like if I, but no, like that's a small part. Like I have to let my body kind of be frustrated because it was free of trauma. Like it's me that's carrying the trauma, and my body's paying for it, right? So it's kind of pissed, right? I can't I can't be mad. I have to work out and do what I can to help it out. But the point is um, Sapo, because of Wim Hof, I knew Wim Hof was the answer, and kind of Sapo showed me kind of a different Wim Hof where you don't really take a break. You just kind of, and you go hard too, and you go with all of your feelings. You go with like your entire being, all of your cells. I remember the feeling. It was so fucking intense. So I kind of had the memory. So I started breathe. Oh yeah, and the mapacho part. And I wanted to talk about that. So I started to breathe, and then she told me grab the bucket. My inner monologue says grab the bucket, and I grabbed the bucket, and I puke. But it came as a surprise. As I puke, that one was clear. That one, it was like higher than an inner monologue. It was like an inner monologue that screamed outside of my ears. It was like a whisper, as if Mapacho was screaming inside my ears. That I really enjoyed. It's really the only time that I've ever had like the ghost sensation of somebody talking from the outside, and it screamed Mapacho, Mapacho, and like every single puke that I was puking, Mapacho, like with my intensity, and I'm a loud puker. Yeah, I am. I'm so loud. I can't control that. It's like sneezing. And brah, I fill up the goddamn bucket, and it smells like mapacho, and it's brown. And as soon as I put it down, facilitator comes, picks it up, and takes it away. And that one, I was like, wow, my lungs felt great. I was, like my body felt good, but I still had the trauma. Like I still had now like the tenseness in my rib cage, like just the tenseness in your rib cage. You don't like having that be gone when you take a breath. Anyways, wow, one day, that's like my destiny, to achieve that. I don't even know if that's possible, to tell you the truth. Like the more I think about it, like the older you get, the more broken you become. But I can't think like that. I gotta be, I'm. This is the journey. This is what we're going through, and but no, I want that. Period. Like that's a fucking goal. I have to re-achieve that. That was insane. But like to have it all the time, like to be able to be so limber and so free, and it is a trauma. It is all in the head. Like it is all memories that are stored that I just need to process. But then it's like a continuance as well of like life, right? You have to be able to accept life for what it is, because even the smallest thing will be causing trauma, and that's just the way it is. And life, I am gonna die, so the trauma will kill me, and that's cool. And the more you accept it, the more like the mother, like what I've read, or not what I've read, when one of my family member from the Ayahuasca group wrote, is that if you continue your life like this, with accepting mother, like, and talking to mother and bringing mother in your life, that you will have a beautiful death, that a grateful child deserves, and not an ungrateful, you know what I mean? So anyways, so now I've got that back in my body, and I breathe, and I kind of go back a little bit into Sapo world, because it's so fresh that I'm able to do the Wim Hof breathing in my ayahuasca ceremony, and kind of bring out this, and I felt good. I was like, okay, I can work with that. You know, I really enjoyed the Wim Hof. I understand, but it's, you know, like, cool. And there were so much lessons that were coming in from all of my family members. Like, it was just an overload of like great energy, great conversation, meant to be. I didn't even want to go like out in the jungle anymore for the trips because I just wanted to have conversations. It was so beautiful. So third ceremony finish, and we go and eat at the end of the ceremony, and I'm okay. Like, I'm not mad. Like, really, I'm not mad. I'm really okay with it, and but I remember, like, it's fresh, and I can't get it out of my head. From that moment on, like, I just think about it like all the time. The feeling, that breath, man, the feeling of taking a breath without any trauma, you know, in the mental and otherwise, you know, physical, whatever, both exist. Paradox, yay. And so now there's another ceremony. It's the next one, the next day, and I feel good. I'm like, all right, you know, this is great. It's the last ceremony. I'm really like, this is insane. The pain was crazy in ceremony too. The sapo was just like miracle over the top. Like, nobody experienced this, and I'm starting to kind of feel proud. Like, I put it all on the mat. I put it all on that pillow, and it's nothing to be ashamed of, you know. Like, and when she put it back, oh yeah, I want to talk about that. In the third ceremony, there was a lot of archetypal thing happening. When she put it back into me, it had a form. For me, it was like an entire black being made out of smoke, but two big gorilla arms that were facing forward, and two red eyes that you couldn't see because the monster was so big. And that monster had a shape, right? It's a big, and it lives in a, and it's afraid, but it's so fucking powerful. Like, and I remember that's something growing up. Like, I've always afraid to fight because I was afraid to hurt somebody else, and then I would have to go to prison because I don't want to go to prison. I watched a lot of prison show. I've watched a lot. I enjoyed the psychology behind like being trapped for whatever reason, because I guess I was trapped. Anyways, that's another subject, another time. But like, it really had an archetypal. So now I had like two inside of me. Oh, and I remember when she put it back into me, I was like, okay, I get it. So when I would breathe, he would kind of breathe with me, and he would get agitated and everything like that, but it would get intense. And I'm like, I'm not comfortable now. Like, I've got full of anxiety again. My rib cage, like, I'm tense. Like, and I have to live with this guy, and he's me, and I'm him, but yet he's separate. I'm like, this is a mind fuck. Like, what is going on, right? And so now this guy's in there, and I start breathing, and at one point I'm like, what if I just take control of him, right? What if like I just say no, and like I kind of not re-imprison him, but like it's as if I go in front of him. Like, in my thought, the way that I could see it is like he was behind me and I was in front of him as the lover slash wizard. But even the wizard archetype was like kind of separate at this point because I brought it back in. Oh yeah, I didn't talk about that, but I brought it back in with my family in ayahuasca. I was starting to talk like as if I'm a wizard, and I always, anyways, that's another story as well. But I could see the wizard archetype, and I could see that big black archetype, and when I tried to control it and tame it, it got angry, and I almost puked. And I was like, okay, well, I get it. And I brought it like side by side with me just so that I could start to feel him, see him, accept him, and create a relationship with the idea that the the thing that's scared inside of me is so fucking big, and it's so powerful, and it rules my world, because you know, how can you fight something like this? Even as me, I was like, Jesus fuck, like, I was uncomfortable. So doing the Wim Hof helped, because I could feel like when I would let my energy out, it would get smaller and smaller. And I'm like, all right. And I was like, this is insane. Like, I kind of saw it as well, like, holy fuck, like, if I need to, I'm powerful, and it gave me a courage and a confidence that, well, not the confidence came after, but a courage of like, I am powerful. And I always knew from the bottom of my heart like I had power, but I've never exercised it because I'm a feelings guy. I cry at Disney movies. I'm a, not a fighter. I've never even fought ever in my life. And from fear of like, and I've always like thought of kung fu. I always practiced in the mirror. I always had the punching bag. That's the thing I enjoyed the most when I was young, for like exercise. And so I was side by side with him. I create relationship. I felt powerful. I was okay, and I thought like maybe he's the one that's causing my trauma. But yes and no. It's like my fears, my everything that I've ever held back. Those are my memories. Those are mine. Like I really have to go and kind of purge them through letting go of the self and being here and now and blah blah blah. Destiny. And so the archetype thing in my mind started to grow, and I was like, okay, I'm starting. And I even wrote it in my diary and like what it looked like. It was crazy. So then the fourth ceremony comes. I'm balanced, and I decide to just focus because I was one to have thinking about the future all the time, planning every single one. Do I have everything? Do I have the flashlight? I'm putting everything in the right order, and anxiety and okay, oh shit. Now I just went in. It's like bare minimum. The bucket is closed. Let's just think about the family. Let's just focus on like what you're here for. You want to be a better father. You want to just fucking go home and take care of your children and really be there in a joy that you've never had before. You couldn't feel like you've seen it now. Like you experienced it without the trauma. You're experiencing it now. It's not like you're unhappy. All of the conversation and the friends and the family members that you've met, like it's cool. Like look at the experience, man. You're here and now. This is insane. You got this. So I start meditating only on my family. I start thinking of like me dancing with my wife, picking up my daughter, kissing, and imagining all sorts of stuff of like happiness. And you have like half an hour of kind of meditation before everything starts. And I just, that's what I did. And I was proud of myself by just because I would get distracted, but I would bring it back. I would bring it back. I wanted to be focused, and I wanted to just fucking let go, kind of thing, and have my warrior now be with me, the wizard, me, the lover, and kind of just. And I had an idea about like a king, I wanted somebody to rule them all, just the idea of a king sounded nice, and it came from a book, and people were talking about that, and I'm not really educated in fuck all, so I was like, okay, I wanted a king. And so I was picturing myself, so I thought, let's take the ayahuasca, thinking of my family, and picture a king and picture ayahuasca, because they always say when you drink to kind of bring yourself into the world of spirit by showing a picture of like who you want to be. So I showed the king, I showed myself like with a crown. And my one thing as well I wanted to explain is, for me, when I close my eyes, all I see is gold. Since I've been young, I've started smoking weed at 16. I don't know if it's a reason. It's just what mother and my internal monologue says. That at the I remember losing my imagination, like how when it became not clear and it was just dark, and for a long time it was just blackness when I closed my eyes. And if I would press on my eyes, there would be that gold, or if I'd be looking at the sun with my eyes closed, kind of reddish gold. But since the Wim Hof breathing, I had my third eye kind of opening up, and to me that's what I attributed it. But all I saw was gold. Every time that I close my eyes, even now, is gold, period. Like I just see a big blanket of gold, and it's solid, and I was, yeah, it was cool by that. So I go in and I just try to focus on my family, and I really try to use my imagination. I bring it in, and I just. So when I take the medication, I am the king, and I go back and I start getting the feeling again. I'm like, oh man, like again, like I can't handle this anymore. Like yes, happy to learn. I will, and fine. Let's, I'm learning, but I'm taking charge this time. I had the medicine in my body for maybe an hour. I feel shitty. I'm gonna take control, and I hate puking. I don't want to puke, but I will puke. I am done. So I start breathing kind of sapo. I'm taking control, right? And I do that for maybe 5 minutes. I really get pumped up. I grab the bucket and I shove my fingers down my throat. Brr, doesn't work. Brr, try again, doesn't work. And on the second or third try, everything kind of, the gold tracers of Bufo alvarius sapo came in, and the feeling came up almost as fast. It was as if I had just smoked Bufo alvarius, and I just put the bucket down and I like kind of fell back. It was kind of, the feeling was the best feeling in the world. When I think back on it, it was like kind of falling into spirituality. Imagine just like the ayahuasca kicking one shot, and it feels like Bufo alvarius, the feeling of like woo, but like instead of being like a big what that's so aggressive and gray or whatever, it was a very high pitched, nice kind of symphony, because the shamans were singing their Icaros, and the Icaros all together was like a beautiful symphony. It was high pitched, but the feeling inside was as intense as Bufo alvarius. Like every single cells were like firing on a level that was amazing. No restriction. I just started breathing as if I was in Sapo world, but I was on my back, so I was like, but like I was wriggling like a snake. And when I, like, as soon as I fell into spirituality and it felt like Bufo alvarius and all my cells were firing, and I started to wriggle and move, every single place I would touch, I would see all of the trauma of that location that I would touch, and it's like as if I would process it and it would melt under my touch. And then I would move to another place, and then poof, all of my memories of that place of trauma, and it would melt under my touch. So I was touching my neck, my head, my ears, my nose. I was touching everything, and it was so fast. It was so fast. My neighbor was saying like, you were moving like a motherfucker, because everywhere I would touch would melt, and the memory of that spot would explode in my mind. And when I would close my eyes, all I saw was triangles and eyes, but it was very, very bright. There was no more gold. Like, it was gold. The background was pure gold, and triangle and eyes going in and out of each other while I was touching my body, and knowing, like it was a knowing that I was processing that area. And it was so fast that I couldn't even see the memories, but sometimes like I would touch and I would get a sense of like my sister or my dad, or like, but it would just like melt in my body, and the feeling was so blissful that I didn't know where to concentrate. Like, it was all at once. I couldn't even concentrate on one. It was so blissful because the body would melt, and that just on its own was insane. And then the feeling of like processing memories and feelings was insane. And on top of that, I would have thoughts about those thoughts, right? I would have like thoughts of like, holy shit, what is happening? And those thoughts were the best thoughts I've ever had in my life. So it was like a mountain of thoughts after thoughts after thoughts, and feelings after feelings of, this is amazing. Like, like the energy was like Sapo, but like for 6 hours, I guess, 4, it really like started diminishing at the second hour. I remember making a noise with my mouth, and I was like, I can speak. And I remember whispering because it was so precious. I was like, my mind, every single part of my body was just, because at this time, like, I was very confused on what was happening. It was just a wonder of wonder, right? So it was me being like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, for 6 hours, really like a like me being a kid fully of like experience whatever the fuck you want to experience with your body, and I'm gonna make you feel like it's the best thing ever no matter what you think about. I remember like specifically thinking of anger or frustration, and it was the best thought. It was really the best example that everything, like, it doesn't matter, because under the right chemical process in your brain, but even like, I'm guessing like perception, awareness, I'm not guessing, I know, awareness, perception, that you can see everything under this light of amazement and like, oh my god, this is absolutely insane. But the feeling that was behind it, that was absolutely crazy. DMT, or yeah, it's DMT, like the fuel, but how precise, like how ayahuasca will make you feel what she wants you to feel. Period, period, period. You don't have a choice. Like, there was 20 to 21 participants in our group, and every single one of them had a different experience, and it was unique to them. Some of them hallucination, wide, like eyes open. Some of them like nothing at all. There's one guy, nothing. He took 2 cups in one of the ceremonies, and he drank all of the ceremonies and nothing. Just the, like the, when the medicine goes through you, it's not comfortable. It does work, on your physique. Like if you're, I don't know, but that guy was healthy, like healthy, like climb mountain type of person, and still his mission, his purpose was the human experience, to be there for others. And like in the second ceremony, when I was really frustrated, he came and he's like, yeah, I'm super frustrated, man. I didn't feel anything as well, like I'm, but I didn't look frustrated. He had a big smile on his face, and I was going through that, frustration thing, that I only frustration was getting rid of the feeling of anxiety and like that trip, as if I was on the edible. So I turned around to him, even though he was my brother. I'm like, what the fuck? If you're angry, be fucking angry, like, and he listened and he understood, and he's like, man, fuck, I get it. Yeah, I see what you're saying. And something to think about, right? So, and there's another guy, beautiful physique, a guy that fasts for like 5 to 8 days or something like that, he was saying, and he's always at the gym, and he's just a pure, beautiful soul. Came not necessarily for healing, he came for the experience to experience. And the first ceremony was so freaking amazing that he told us, like, it was funny because when we did the integration circle after the first ceremony, everybody was kind of having difficulty, and there was a lot of crying, and there was a lot of frustration, and this guy comes around out of nowhere, is like, man, I mother showed me that I had multiple faces, so like as if I'm wearing mask, and showed me my family, like so much. He just like brought his family like straight up to him, like he was in another world, and just like beautiful experience. Second night, same thing, even better. And ayahuasca says to him, that's it, that's all, like no more for you for the rest of the week. Not sapo, no nothing. And if you come back, you're gonna pay for it. Like, I'm gonna make you shit your pants. And he didn't, like, he respected the plant medicine. He respected mother, or ayahuasca. It was insanity. One of my friend, like the other one, like there was a snake that came and guided his journey the entire time, which, how amazing is that? The first thing it did, went inside of him, cleaned each of little parts of his body that was maybe needed. Just like his stories were so beautiful. Every single one had just the most amazing. There's this one guy, and he was very troubled, and he was doing a lot of screaming and a lot of disrupting and a lot of talking, but like he was dealing with his childhood, like being close to his mom and not having any friends, and just not being able to get out of your shell, kind of a feeling. And I can name him by name, because unfortunately he passed away. Anthony. He was a very interesting, and I love him with all my heart. I had a lot of ceremonies with him after he passed away. But to say like there was each and everyone had their different experience, and it was crazy. So now go back to my fourth ceremony. Absolutely amazing, absolutely amazing. Every single thing. I remember just going to the bathroom and just stopping. The idea of stopping myself and just, if I want to stay here, I can. The best idea I've ever had. And pure blessing. But I didn't know at the time, like, almost like what was happening and why, and it was pure amazement. So at the end of this ceremony, I remember because they were recording the Icaros, and Anthony was screaming a lot, and a lot of people were getting really frustrated, and I as well, even though I was feeling like what I just experienced, like pure fucking bliss, I was starting to get tired. I was starting to get annoyed. And I was like, the amount of release that I did in one evening, because I was sweaty, I released a lot. So it's like going back to my old self and having kind of like an experience of, it felt like Sapo. That's the thing that was the most confusing, because it was so fucking intense. But I released of it, because I don't know, like I released a lot of stuff. I'm guessing it was amazing, it was blissful, but I was still frustrated at the end, and that was confusing a bit. I was like, okay, I understand what you're teaching me. Like, as much bliss as you can have, I'm still gonna be frustrated. I can't just like go and like kind of remember yesterday. I was like, I remember, I was there. Like, how is this even possible that the way my body feels really dictates like everything? And I was like, god dang, like so wake ups the next day, I feel like we're gonna be going back home now. It's Saturday, so the boat ride to go out of the jungle, and we do the integration circle, and everybody's kind of talking, and I'm afraid. I'm actually, yeah, Jazz, when he comes to me, means that that's important. I was afraid. And the reason why I was afraid, because you have to be clean to go and do ayahuasca. So I had quit cannabis for like a month now. And I was afraid to go back to my old ways, because I always thought that cannabis was the thing that was kind of holding me back, making me lazy, or but anyways, I was wrong on so many levels, but I was afraid of that. And people just expressed all of their fears, if, I'm afraid to go back home and to be a frustrated guy in fights and whatever. But for me, it was really going back to my old routine. Was kind of like, okay, I remember what it feels like to be empty. I know the tricks of breathing and Wim Hof, and all is good. And but like I just had a lot of bliss, which I really appreciate. Thank you so much, Mother. But I felt like, what? Like, I don't want to go back. I don't want to leave this place. I don't want to go back to the real world. I was, but I had made friends, and I was one even before going to Peru. I had no friends. I was solo. I had just started a family. And the way life worked out, it's just I had no friends. And even my family members, not so close. So I had my wife, but my relationship was not going great. But I had my children, which were really beautiful. And I thought, but I was not, I am still able to get angry as I saw while I was purely on bliss. And I was like, it really taught me a good lesson of like choice, right? And like, no matter how much bliss you feel, if you decide to hang on to your frustration, then you're frustrated, and everything that kind of you bring in your circle will have that taint of frustration. And yeah, it's just the way it is. So I think I'm gonna leave it here, and I'm gonna talk about when I got to the hotel and the ride back home on the next time. So subscribe if you want to, and also have YouTube at Monkey and Frank, and Instagram Monkey and Frank 11. And yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoy. Love you guys.